Hi, welcome to High Road. My name's Andrew, and in this video I'm going to show you the fatal damage that's been done to this poor little guitar by having the wrong type of strings put on it. So this is not actually my guitar. This is actually a guitar I found in the school storeroom where I work, and it had been abandoned for many years, probably because it's now a piece of junk and whoever originally owned it didn't want it anymore. So I brought this home just to make videos like this, and I'm going to use it as a bit of a guinea pig guitar to try out some repair techniques that I want to learn, but it's basically toast. It's never going to really be a playable guitar again because of what I'm about to show you. So this is a typical cheap nylon beginner guitar, and these kinds of guitars, in fact any type of nylon guitar, Spanish guitar or classical guitar, even the high quality ones, are designed for the tension that's associated with nylon strings. Now if you take a standard set of D'Addario EJ27s, they have a string tension of 37.4 kilograms from saddle to nut. The previous owner of this guitar, however, has gone and put heavy gauge steel strings on here. So if you compare that with typical D'Addario EJ16s, they have a string tension of about 72.8 kilograms from saddle to nut. That is basically double the amount of string tension, and this guitar is not designed to handle it. Because of that, the soundboard has started to warp, the bridge has started to lift up and crack, and the neck has started to crack and separate from the body. All of that has caused the entire guitar to bend into a bow shape, and now the action is so high that this guitar is basically unplayable. The typical string height of a nylon guitar at the 12th fret should be about 3 millimeters. This is actually more than 6 millimeters. So let's take a closer look at the damage that's been done to this guitar. First thing you can see here pretty obviously is that the entire bridge has been tipping this way, and it's tearing itself off the top of the guitar. You can see a crack forming there, and that runs all the way along the back of the bridge. Probably wouldn't take much more to rip the whole thing right off. Because this has been tipping in that direction, it's caused this part of the soundboard to bulge and this part to dip. So you can see pretty clearly that there's a wave shape where it kind of bulges and then dips, and that's the warping that occurs under high tension on the bridge. Next thing you can see here is that the neck has actually started to separate from the body down the bottom there. There's a crack running all the way down, and just at the bottom there it's starting to widen up, and that's purely just because of the amount of strain that's on the neck pulling it up and out of alignment. So why would someone do this? Why would someone put the wrong strings on a guitar? Well, if you're a beginner, you may not realize the damage that you're doing to a guitar like this. You may not even realize that there are differences between guitars. You might just think, well, all guitars are the same and you can put any string on any guitar. You can put nylon strings on a steel string guitar without doing it any damage. Subjectively, you could say that it might not sound as good. I've done it before and I thought it was actually a pretty cool sound, but you're not going to damage a steel string guitar by putting light strings on there. This, however, you're doing it the other way around. You're putting heavy strings on a light guitar. So if you've bought yourself a nylon guitar, you have to stick to nylon strings. If you've got a steel string guitar, basically you should stick to steel strings for that too. But the reason why nylon guitars can't cope with the extra tension is because underneath this soundboard there is a series of bracing struts, and on a nylon guitar they're actually they go laterally across the body like that, and they're only able to cope with a very small amount of tension. Inside the neck of a nylon guitar as well, there's no truss rod, there's no steel reinforcement, so this is just designed to bend a little bit with the normal nylon string tension, and that's it. Now a steel string guitar, on the other hand, has a totally different bracing pattern underneath the guitar top. They use an X bracing pattern, which kind of goes like that, and it reinforces the bridge area much more strongly. Also inside the neck of a steel string guitar is a steel truss rod, which adds a little bit of strength and stability to the neck and stops it from bending more than it should. So what if you're a beginner guitarist and you want to get a steel string sound but all you have is a nylon guitar? Well, there is kind of a way, but it's not for everyone. So if you're a guitar teacher, or if you're a luthier, a guitar repairer, or maybe a salesman in a guitar shop, please ignore what I'm about to say because you're going to be offended, but you can actually put light gauge electric strings on a nylon guitar without damaging it or without doing any modifications, because 9 to 42 gauge electric strings, say D'Addario EXL 120s, those have pretty much the exact same string tension as nylon strings. Now when you put them on, you may find that you don't like the sound. You may find that the setup doesn't quite work, so if that happens, you've blown 20 bucks and you can just, write it off, put nylon strings back on and move on with your life. But you might actually like it. I've actually had several beginner students that I did this sort of modification on to their guitars, and they really liked it. And it was enough to keep them motivated until they could save up and afford a real steel string guitar or an electric guitar. But if you want to do that hack, it's got to be 9 to 42 gauge electric strings, because anything thicker or anything higher tension is going to cause damage. It's got to be around about 37 to 38 kilograms of string tension, nothing more. Now if you want to know what that actually sounds like, I'm going to do a video on that and I'll put a link in the description below, so stay tuned. So the main takeaway from this video is, if you have a nylon string guitar, then you should really only be putting nylon strings on it. If you put heavy gauge acoustic steel strings on one of these, you will destroy it permanently. The only way you can get around this to get a steel string sound out of one of these guitars is to use light gauge, I mean like 9 to 42 gauge electric strings, because they happen to have almost the same string tension as nylon strings. But you probably won't like the sound of it, and almost no one will recommend that you do that. But it's not going to harm your guitar. You can easily just take them off and put nylon strings back on later and everything's fine. As always, if you want to learn how to make music, record music and build musical stuff, start now by hitting the subscribe button below, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.